All right, all right. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful and, as much as possible, peaceful night. I wish everybody is in the peace of your house or wherever you are. You may find yourself in a serene environment. Um, Dear Sonia, would you be willing to do our opening prayer, sister?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let us all close our eyes and take a deep breath and just relax. And Heavenly Father, we just give you so much gratitude and love for allowing this opportunity for not only expressing love, but also the education, the words, and the growth that we are able to receive in so many ways. We ask for you to open our minds to receive the knowledge and also to bless Kiki as she provides us with insight and opportunity as we grow in this school we call Earth. Thank you, dear God. We ask that our mentors also join us and the mentors also from even BSH. Thank you, dear God. And we humbly, with humility, ask you permission to open this class for this evening. So be it, and so it is.
Thank you, sister. All right, so today we will talk about something that usually brings a lot of questions about. And as always, please feel free to speak up, bring your comments, your questions, whatever you would like to share or ask. You are more than welcome to do that anytime. And today we are in the fifth class and we will talk about reincarnation, which is one of the principles of the Spiritism. So, a quick recap to what we saw until now. Spiritism is a philosophical doctrine, but it has its religious consequences, so it's nothing very new. We know that this philosophy about thinking how the life after death keeps going is something that exists for a long, long time. But in the Spiritism, we do have some very specific understanding of how it all works, so it has its religious consequences. The three big principles of the Spiritism are philosophy, as we were just talking, the science, and religion. Two very important pillars that do not disconnect from everything that we talk about. So, and when we say science, we say the material science and the spiritual science, because the more we understand about the spirituality, the easier it is for us to understand how we can evolve, how we can perfect ourselves. So, the beliefs of the Spiritism are five principles. The first one is the existence of God, the existence of spirits and their survival after death, reincarnation, multitude of inhabited worlds, and communicability with the spirits. Two classes ago, we talked about God, and we understood from the spirits on high that God is the supreme intelligence. It's the first cause of all things. So, for every intelligent reaction, there's definitely an intelligent cause. And God is this beginning of everything. The characteristics of God is eternal, there is no beginning, no end. It is immutable, which makes us feel comfortable about the consistency of God, so it's not that it changes. It is immaterial, and that's one of the reasons we cannot perceive God with our material senses. It is unique, otherwise, it wouldn't be God. It is all powerful because it is the supreme intelligence. it knows how to manage and to work in everything. It is supremely just and good. This is an attribute of God. And by being supremely just and good, we know that God is this loving mother, father that is here with us and for us. So, whatever we want to do in terms of getting closer to God, we have to respect the golden rule that Jesus gave to us. Do unto others what you wish them to do unto you. So this is basic for us every time that we think about judging someone, or if we feel like we are being, I don't know, someone is being unfair with us. Let us try to put ourselves in the other person's shoe, because everybody truly believes that is doing the best thing that he or she could do. So being compassionate is the rule number one. As part of the creation, there is the universal trinity. So the universal trinity is God that created the spirit and matter. And between spirit and matter, there is the universal fluid. We will have a class only to discuss about this universal fluid. But this is the fluid that once it interacts with the spirit and once interacts with matter, it enables the creation of everything. So the planet, our body, our thoughts, our feelings, and everything. In different formats, in different combinations, the universal fluid is the fluid that has God's principle in it, as spirit and matter, of course. When studying the spirits, we learned that we have not only our physical body, but we have the soul, our spirit, and there is a perispirit, which is this body in between matter and spirit. The perispirit is what holds the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts from one lifetime to another lifetime. So today we will talk about reincarnation. So it's important that we keep in mind that the perispirit is really, as I mentioned, I like to call it our baggage. This is the baggage that we carry, that we are always carrying from one lifetime to other lifetime. So it's in there that we have all the vibrations that we keep from our body. So even if we talk to someone that you feel like that person is too tense, the perispirit is holding some type of energy that is allowing you to perceive that. So all of our emotions and our thoughts are in this level of the perispirit that do not detach from the spirit, ever. So we lose our physical body, we do not lose our perispirit and our spirit. We also learned that there is a classification of the spirits for us to understand not all the spirits are good. All of the spirits are under evolution, and there are 3 orders. The 3rd order is the order of the imperfect spirits. And within this order, there are 4 classes, 10th to 6th class. And all this class, the biggest difference is how attached to matter and how evil the spirit is still applying to his or her life. So essentially, we are talking about ignorant spirits. So I don't like to use the word evil because it's just a matter of having our brothers and sisters that still didn't awake their divine senses. So there are those spirits, and the more materialistic they are, the more they suffer with the earthly vices, the earthly passions. The 2nd order are the order of the good spirits, and this is composed by the 5th to the 2nd class. Those are the spirits that have less material attachments, so they understand a little bit better about the spiritual world. This is an evolution of not only the intellect, but also the kindness and the moral development. So these spirits are in between. This world is still going through trials and attunements, but way less than the imperfect spirits. Then there is the 1st order, which are the pure spirits. This one has only one class, which is the class of the spirits that have already achieved the perfection. So everything that we do is for us to awake our senses and progress, keep progressing, so we can keep growing on the class. And we also learned that it is up to the individual to go faster or delay its progress according to the decisions that the spirit makes. So all of us can accelerate our progress depending on how we decide to live. And one amazing tool that we have for this progress is exactly what we'll be talking today, which is reincarnation. So it is split into 5 parts. The first is the soul after death. So although reincarnation is a cycle, let's start with what happens when the spirit leaves the body. We are not going to go into much detail about this specific part because there is a topic in our agenda, in our course, that will talk only about discarnation. But I just want to start the reincarnation process with when a spirit leaves the body. Then what happens for us to reincarnate, which are the characteristics, what is the justice of reincarnation, and then the reason why we forget what happened in our past lives. So after a body dies, let me just do something. After our material body dies, the soul simply becomes a spirit again, meaning it returns to the spirit world. But one thing that is very important is that the soul keeps its individuality through its unique fluid in the perispirit. So remember that we saw that we all carry our perispirit, and our perispirit will be able to carry everything that we lived in this lifetime in terms of experiences, memories, thoughts, emotions, and everything else. But because we are going to a spiritual world, it doesn't mean that all the spirits are one thing. All the spirits are still individuals. And what this spirit will carry can be sweet or bitter, or can be light or heavy. Because again, it is our decision to what are we going to carry to our spiritual life. Of course, it not always is a conscient decision, and that's the reason why inner transformation is one of the most important aspects of the Spiritism, because we never know when we're going to die. So if we are in a moment where we are carrying a lot of anger about someone, or sadness, or rebelliousness about something, our baggage gets really heavy. And then the awakening in this spiritual life gets more confusing, gets more blurred, because we are very much attached to those feelings, to those emotions. In the other hand, if we carry a life, a peaceful life with serenity, doing our best in terms of understanding that we are co-creators with God. If something is not in our hands, it is in God's hand, and we resign to God. We allow God to take us through the path that will definitely enable our progress. This is when our baggage gets light, and then the awakening in the spiritual world is going to be way easier for us to perceive and understand what's going on. So as if we were a radio, I would say, we need to be in tune to be able to see and to hear our mentors. If we are too heavy, we will not be able to find the right station on the radio. But in the other hand, if we are carrying light emotions, we will be able to easily understand what's going on and receive all the support that we might receive from the spirituality. So One quick thing that I would like us to reflect along this week is, what are we carrying in our baggage? If we were to have our passage today, are we comfortable with our state of mind? If yes, perfect. If not, this is a great conversation that you can have with your mentor during your nightly review. And one thing that is really important that we see when moving forward is understand what happened in the past. The spirits on high say we only achieve perfection by experiencing the trials of a new existence. And if we stop and think about that, it makes sense, because the more that we understand, the more we are able to look back and reflect on things that we would like that we had done differently. How many times haven't we woke up and said, oh gosh, I wish I knew that earlier? Or if I knew that this situation would result in this, I would have cared less, or whatever. So, past is important. Our friend Albert Einstein said, if you want to know the future, look at the past. And this is also a divine law. This is the law of action and reaction. And by enabling us to have always a new existence, this is the tool that God uses to bring us justice. And it's not only the justice that will punish us. I really don't like when we think about something as God is just like it's karma, like a bad karma. God, let's remember that God is a loving mother father that is giving us guardrails for us not to slip away from the road of our progress. And then, of course, if we created something in the past that might give to us a harsh harvesting, this is what we have to go through, not as a means of punishment, but as a means for us to really be able to do differently this time. So when we think about this justice, all the souls, no exception, all of them undergo to transformations to purify itself. And as we learned last week, again, we can accelerate or delay our evolution depending on how we use our knowledge, how we use this intellect that we carry from one lifetime to other lifetime. And there is no limit of number of incarnations. We might have thousands of incarnations, millions of incarnations. And why? Because God is merciful. There is no one single person. I know that we are just like a small portion of the universe. There are billions and billions of humans and souls, but yet God takes care of all of us, understanding each of our needs. So we will reincarnate as many times as necessary. And the nicest thing is that we will always incarnate with everything we need for us to succeed. Always. Sometimes we think about, oh my gosh, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that. If I this, if the other person that. Again, we co-create with God. If we are expecting something that is not under our control to happen for us to achieve our mission, our perfection, we are on the wrong path. This is, our mentors are raising a red flag, red flag. And sometimes our pride, our vanity sees the red flag as punishment. So I really would like to plant the seeds that those red flags is our loving father, mother saying, wrong way, wrong way. So the more that we incarnate, the more that we develop our senses, the more perfect, sorry, we are going to be. So, of course, that the final incarnation of a spirit means that this spirit achieved perfection. It's now a pure spirit. And this spirit doesn't have as a mission the need to return to any of the planets that are material to go through any situation. It doesn't mean that they can't, but it means that it's not necessary anymore because the spirit has achieved perfection and can keep working and supporting the brothers and sisters wherever she is. Does that make sense? Are we all on the same page? I cannot see your faces, but I will rely if anyone make any question. All right. So, as I was mentioning, all of us are born in a place that is exactly what we need for us to succeed. And it doesn't mean that there is only planet Earth. So, of course, that if we are born, I don't know, in Brazil, in US, in Italy, it makes difference. Of course it does. But expand that understanding. There are so many other planets, and all the planets, they have the specific needs for each inhabitant of the world. And let's remember that the intelligence that we acquire is never lost, never lost. And what the spirits tell us is that it might not have the same means of manifesting that intelligence, which depends both on the superiority of the spirit, also the quality of the body they will assume. So let's say a very elevated spirit incarnate here on earth, and he or she has a great intellect, a great intelligence. But if this body does not have the quality that enable he or she to put in action that intelligence, it's going to be a little more difficult. So this is how we are able to apply the intelligence that we acquire. And a couple of interesting things, and again, I'm not going to go into much detail on planets because we'll talk about multitude of worlds in our next class. But what is interesting is that Earth is neither the first nor the last planet that we incarnate, but it's definitely one of the most material and furthest removed from perfection. So see, friends, this is not the first time that we are incarnating. We are here God knows how many times, and God knows how many words we ever lived. So all this intelligence, it is inside of us, but it's up to us to awake that. That's one of the reasons why on our prayers we are always saying, God, help me to awake my divine senses, because it is on us. We've been carrying that intellect for over and over. But you guys all know that. I'm pretty sure that all of us have learned something when we were younger that we never touched anymore, and now we don't even remember how to do that. This is exactly the same thing. We have to revisit something so then we can awake those senses. And it's great that we are here, so hopefully we are helping our perispirits to get something important out of our baggage. A soul may live in the same world many times if it's not ready to move on to a higher one. So we can move from world to world, but it doesn't mean that we can go to a higher world. Also, because remember that the world has the specific needs for that specific spirit. So if a spirit is very much materialized, it doesn't mean that this spirit will have a good experience if it goes to a higher planet, because the environment is, it's not the same. So I don't know, like air, for instance. I don't know, just using as an example. A spirit of advancement can happen wherever it might be, so we can stay on earth or not. One nice thing that the Spirit's book tells us is that not always we can choose which world we are going to live. Sometimes, yes, we can do that request, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that will happen. But wherever we are, wherever we are placed by our decision or not, it means that we are going to have all the means for us to evolve. So that is pretty interesting. Also, because all the worlds, they are in solidarity to one another. So what is not accomplished in one world will be completed in other. So what this makes me reflect, friends, is that if we are in a planet that it's not our first, it's not our last, it has everything that we need for us to succeed. Even this damn war that is going on and is making us think, why? What I mean, why? We have a role on it. And it is important that we understand which role do we want to play. It is important that we want to, like, do we want to be neutral? Do we want to do the good? Do we want to do the bad? What do we want to do in the environment that we are put to? We are here for a reason. A spirit doesn't have to pass through all the worlds to be elevated, so just the necessary ones for its advancement. So if we have, I don't know, millions of worlds, it doesn't mean that we have to go over all of them. But again, it goes more according to how much we evolve. And a spirit advancement can happen wherever it might be, so we can stay on Earth or not. This is the same. I'm sorry about that. One thing that I also wanted to bring is that only the person who neglects an advancement remains stagnant. Because again, everything that surrounds us, everything, the good and the bad, the neutral, everything is in there for us to make decisions. What is the decision that we are making today that will help us to evolve, that will help us to have a better future, that will help us to help others better than what we are doing today? And then, of course, divine justice compels us to use this new existence to do what we were not able to do or complete in our prior trial. And then that's one of the reasons why sometimes our trials are so harsh and so painful, because we keep neglecting, we keep rebelling. And just like a child, when the child keeps crying and crying because he or she wants to do something that he or she can't because it's gonna cause him or her harm. I mean, until when we will keep rebelling against those things? So if there is a situation that we go over and over again, like those things, like, I don't know, I always go through like this. I always meet people that takes me to, like, that triggers my nerve because he or she is whatever. Pay attention to those things that are consistently happening, because those are exactly the guardrails that God is giving to you for you to pay attention. That's the red flag. That's the red flag. And a trial or reincarnation doesn't mean that you have to suffer all the time. Because again, we carry our intelligence over and over. And a proof of that is so many of us have aptitude for us to do so many brilliant things that we didn't even know that we knew how to do that. How are we using that? You know that we can lose a skill that was acquired if we do not use that for the good. Or we can decide to put a skill on dormant because we want to learn another one. So like I love, painting canvas, but maybe that's not what I should be doing right now, even though I love. But why that? Maybe because I have to learn something else. Okay, let's do something different. Of course, this is just example, friends, but this is to entice you to think. How are you reflecting on your life? And how is this helping you to advance yourself in this incarnation? It's not because we know that there will be another lifetime that we should just lose time. In reality, on the Spirits Review, I read that today, in the Spirits Review edition of November of 1860, a medium told us there is no pain, there is more agonizing. Am I saying this word correctly? It's no worse pain than the time lost. Did you catch this? So when we wake up on the spiritual world and we realize that we lost time, that's very, very painful. So let us not let for tomorrow what we can do today. And speaking about brief incarnation, sometimes it can get like really, we can be rebellious about that, right? Like a child that just born or a child that didn't even born. Like, what happened? Why? And what the spirits on high tell us is that brief reincarnations might be a complement to a previous existence that was interrupted before it's intended to end. And in addition, the child's death is often a trial of atonement for their parents. So when we see a child that is suffering, it doesn't mean that that is only that individual's trial. There is a lot from the parents. I can't imagine how painful it is to lose a child or to lose anyone, actually. But one thing that we must keep in mind is that it's not because it's a child that it's not an advanced spirit. The infancy of the body means nothing with regards to the advancement of the spirit. There are many, many cases where the children sometimes come with more experience and more advancement than the parents. But of course, that the role that everyone plays in that family is to help each other. So sometimes the children come just to do that, just to finish something that was in the that had started in the past. So really, when we think about a perspective that it didn't start here or it doesn't end here, it should help us with this perception of rebellious against God or the universe. There is a reason behind. We've been carrying things from previous lifetime to lifetime. And even those brief incarnations, they are means for us to understand that, to learn that. The spirits do not have a gender as we human beings comprehend that. So it's not that it because I am a woman in this lifetime, it doesn't mean that I have to be a woman in the other lifetime. Actually, the gender, as we assuming here, is just our material envelope. And then, as any races or social levels or like ethnicity, everything is important. And we have to experience all of those because each one of those envelopes are going to help us to learn, to respect, to understand. So those spirits that still do not understand humans as equals is because this brother or sister is still going through the path of experiencing those differences. And then, of course, the more that we ask for the spirits on high about these differences, they say, no difference. Everybody's the same under God's eyes. So the more we help each other, the better it's going to be. In the spiritual world, instead of having this synergy about man and woman, there is the similarity of the sentiments. Because we are able to remove this envelope, we see much more on the emotional level than the exterior that we present. We are not going to talk about homosexuality, for instance. This is not the intention for the discussion today. I do think that we will touch that in one moment. But just by understanding what God tells us, that we are all the same, I think that there is no reason for us to mistreat anyone for whatever reason. It's not on us, not our judgment, not our problem. If we go through a situation that we are in need of understanding from others, again, we are always put through in all the situations that we must learn, either because we simply have to learn that experience, or because we are understanding from something that we've done in the past. Maybe we didn't understand, maybe we didn't treat someone as we should have. And now we are in that specific envelope, so then we can go through and understand and experience. So, again, compassion with each other is key for us to be able to awake our divine senses and understand how to move forward. And then I just would like to bring a piece from a book called The Messengers, wrote by the spirit André Luiz through Chico Xavier. And in this book, he explains to us there is an astral city. And by the way, if you haven't watched it yet, there is a movie called Nosso Lar. And Nosso Lar is the movie that explains the awakening of André Luiz. André Luiz was a doctor in his earthly life, and he didn't know anything about spirituality. And then he dies, and he wakes up, and he starts understanding what's going on. His awakening was so amazing that he decides to write books for us, incarnated. So all the books that you will read from André Luiz are books with truth. It's not a novel. It is his story. He's sharing with us his story. But what is nice is that because he was a doctor, he's very scientific driven. So he brings to us so many things from the questions that we're like, oh, how does it happen? He brings those questions to us. So it's very, very interesting. I highly recommend you not only to watch the movie to see how it happened, but also, if possible, to read those books because they are extremely interesting. And in one of the books, he explains to us that he's studying. He's awakening to the spiritual world. So he's studying, he's understanding how everything works. And he shows to us that there is this reincarnation preparation center. It is a center that every spirit that will go through the reincarnation process go through a very extensive study of what is necessary again for that spirit to succeed. Each one of us. That's why I say we are never alone. And everything that is happening in our life happens for a very important and lovingly reason. I know that sometimes we might not see that with those eyes, but we are constantly invited by the spirits on high for us to revisit the way that we are perceiving our trials. Because again, those trials are only guardrails from God to help us revisit a concept. And in this example, André Luiz is showing to us, and there is this nice illustration. I don't know who did the illustration, but I'm very thankful for that. But there is this illustration. There is studying a spirit of a future body of someone in the book that if you read, you understand who the person is. But one very interesting thing is that this body already has this dark spot here. So it is showing some anomalies in the gastrointestinal tract of this person. So in the future, those dots will become an ulcer. So see, we already born with whatever we need. And I mean, now in this class we are not going to be able to discuss why this person is born with this, but in this book there is an exhaustive explanation of why. And then we start understanding the reasons why we go through the things that we go through, I mean, in our body, or in our life. But friends, one of the most important takeaways that we must get from this is that reincarnation is what demonstrates how good and how just and how wise God is with all of us. Because it is through these new opportunities that we can decide something different from what we were doing in the past. And we might think, well, but I can also carry this disease, let's say, from my parents. I mean, it's not mine. But in reality, it's not. Parents give only the organic life. Because remember, the soul is indivisible. So it's not that half of the mom and half of the dad is going to create a new soul. No, it's only parts of mom, parts of dad that will enable the fertilization and then the soul to incarnate in that specific body. So the action of mother and father is completely mechanic, it's completely material. And the reincarnation comes with the individuality of the spirits. Of course, absolutely, the parents, they do have the duty to support the child to awake those senses that he or she is carrying. So there is a huge responsibility for the parents to support the kids on understanding and assessing those things. How many times haven't we saw kids saying things that we were like, how do you even know that, right? Because until at least 7 years old, it is still very fresh. It is still very fresh in the perispirit, and it's easier for the child to access that memories. So the more that we stimulate that, the better or the easier it's going to be when becomes a teenager and move forward. But one of the things that the Allan Kardec asks for the spirits is, okay, so if that's it, so I lose my parents in my next incarnation, like what's the point of creating all these relationships? And this is exactly the opposite. Instead of losing, you just expand. The relationship becomes so strong that it goes beyond the lifetime. It doesn't mean that the parents that I have this lifetime, they are not going to be important in my next one. Of course they will. They are friends that I acquired with so much love and gratitude. And my mom and my dad can keep working with me and for me as many times as we need each other. So we shouldn't think about another lifetime as losing our relatives. The opposite. We are just expanding there. And this shows even more the importance of brotherhood because we do know who we are getting together with. The family ties, they come not only from the blood, but friends that we have so much affinity. That might have been a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, or even someone that we work with that we never met. Someone that is begging something for us in the street could have been your father. And when we make the decision to simply ignore that person, again, that's the decision that we are making. So when we look to brothers and sisters, whoever they are, there is a relationship in there. Might not be new. So be kind, brothers and sisters. And that's the other reason why it's not only about being kind, but also about being receptive, because we do not know what we did to them in the previous lifetime. So there might be that we might have hurt them, and now we are together for us to review that situation, and then we don't know why that person doesn't like us. Well, there might be something behind. So be patient, be tolerant, extend a hand. And the more, if we want to honor our ancestrals, we can, of course, but we shouldn't do that out of pride. Oh, that's the name of my family because it was royalty or whatever. But do that because of the good that your ancestral did. There is nothing more honoring to do than to repeat something that was done good. If it's bad, we have the opportunity to review. But another thing that we also learn is that the moral likeness is in result of a moral sympathy. So of course that you know that when you have a child that is very, very much alike a dad or a mother, because there is moral sympathy in there. So it doesn't mean that again that the spirit is deriving from the spirit of the mother or the father, but there is a lot of affinity in there. But all of us, no exception, should contribute with one another's progress, either by being patient, either by loving, either by supporting. This is our duty. There is a huge responsibility when we reincarnate with our brothers and sisters. And why do we forget? One question that Allan Kardec does is, how can we be held accountable of something that we don't even know? But what the Spirit says is, because you forget, you are able to be truly yourself. Because again, remember that we carry on our baggage all the intelligence and all the experiences that we've acquired. So you know that intuition, you know that voice that brings to you something for you to think about. That is your intuition. And the more we access our intuitions, the better we will awake those memories and those senses and that intelligence that we acquired in previous lifetime. So again, by forgetting, we are able to make the decision with clear mind, with no judgment of what happened or what will happen. You are just yourself. You cannot mask a decision anymore. We will have merit of our choices. And then the other thing about the past is that we should be careful about trying to understand what happened in previous life. If it's going to be helpful for us for whatever reason, the spirits on high will help us to understand that past. Only if it's useful. If it's not, friends, we should be careful with our curiosity, because curiosity might not be useful. And then again, we are losing time with things that are not important for our progress. If we forget, there is a reason. And the reason is for you to live that life, to learn to love, regardless of what happened in the past. So let's say that I had a situation where, I don't know, my father killed me last in the previous life, and then this lifetime we are daughter and father again. If I knew about that, how would be my relationship with that person? So it's a bless that we forget. So then we can truly restart with fresh air. So to finish, I just would like to bring back for us to think on our nightly review the implications of the incarnation on our life. So first and foremost is to strengthen our family ties, and please expand family to those out of our blood. We just understood that if we are connected to all brothers and sisters, there is a great reason for that. Let's use that time for us to progress and to help them to progress as well. because we forget and because there is reincarnation, it enables us to have the universal love because we just learn that we are all the same and everyone will go through all the experiences, all of them. Again, it is a step towards the tolerance, racial tolerance, religious tolerance, social tolerance, and all the other tolerances. If it's not for us to understand, it's for us to be understood. So again, it brings harder the sense of brotherhood, of fraternity, for us to support each other. It gives us hope and comfort because there is a renewal, just as if we have new opportunities every single day. If we messed with this life, first of all, if God is granting us more days, it's because we can still make up for it this lifetime. But if not, let us just carry our light baggage with gratitude for what happened. We cannot change the past, but we can certainly do something for us to change the future. So that should be our focus. It elongates the time sense. So again, when thinking about a situation, let us just not see this lifetime. We do not know what happened in the past, and we have no clue of what's going to happen in the future. So let us, again, do not judge by our senses because our senses are now only seeing one lifetime, and there is way more than that. And Allan Kardec says something that is so simple and so strong: to be born, to die, and to be reborn yet again and constantly progress. So that's it for today. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to do so. Let me see if I have. Oh, I have one more slide. I'm sorry, friends. I just wanted to bring one more thing. Jesus said something that I wanted to bring for us. Blessed are those who weep, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are they who suffer persecution because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. So again, not only all of this that we learned, but also Jesus is coming and reinforcing to us the importance of everything that we are going through right now is exactly what we need for our progress. Let's wrap it up. Any questions, any comments, friends?
Kiki, I wanted to ask a question. When you gave the example of, well, you said, okay, we don't know when we're going to die. Okay. So, which is true. People that are aware that they're dying, that's one thing. And then people who die suddenly from an illness or, I hate to say this, but from being killed. And you don't have, whether it's a child or an adult, how is that? And I know it has to do with the reincarnation, but I'm saying that because when you pass out or something, you're not even aware that you passed out, or you know what I'm saying? It's like you're not aware until you come back into your body. So to me, it's like, oh, I mean, I I'm saying that from experience in terms of, my sister laughed at me and I was like, I didn't even know what happened. So that to me was a eye opener. So
Yeah. And sister, the way that they explain the awakening, and we will have a class only about discarnation. But one of the things that they explain in the Spirit's book is, when we are in a very dark place and then all of a sudden we turn on the light and we kind of gets a little
you
bit
can't
blurry,
see
or
it.
like it takes a while for you to be
Yeah.
able to.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happens to us, especially in those sudden death, because we were not expecting. And then exactly the baggage that we are carrying will help us to accelerate the process of getting things clearer or not.
Oh, gotcha.
If we are too much attached to our vices and passions and like, I cannot go, I cannot go, I cannot go, the silver cords that
Yeah.
holds our perispirit, we will still be there. So your senses will be very confusing. This can be even painful for the senses of the spirit.
Mm.
And that's the reason why when we think about someone that had passed suddenly, the best we have to do is to pray, to
Mhm.
help the person in this detachment. Because
Mhm.
imagine if we are in that sentiment of what happened, imagine the person.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Of course, sister. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about the part where he says, what was that about Einstein? When he
Mhm.
said something about the past, what did he say? Oh, if
If you
you
want
want to
to
know
know
your
the future,
future, look
see
in.
the past.
If you want to know, yeah, if you want to, how does it go there again? If
If
you
you want
want
to know
to
the
know the
future, look at the
future,
past.
look at your past. So when I look at this phrase, I'm looking at um, a whole. Uh, I'm looking at more than multiple things. I'm looking at more than one thing. I'm looking at um, why I'm in a particular body, why it's hard for me to learn how to fly an airplane. I'm looking at why um, I, I, I couldn't have a baby. I'm looking at all kinds of things. You touched on some of it,
Mhm.
but one of the things is when it comes to reincarnation, we don't always know. You're right. When we're going to die, we don't always know consciously what we're working on. But if you look at what's going on in your life right now that you totally disagree with, even if it's your parents, because at one point I was in total disharmony with my parents. But the ignorance, of course, shed later on. But it tells me that I had that to work on. You know what I mean? That's what you were talking about. You have to work on what you're faced with. You have to look at it because it's for a reason.
Yes.
It's like one of my sons has mental illness. I had to embrace that first and then try to understand why. And this is the education through reincarnation gave me my answers about why we're going through this situation. It's
Yes.
really, really beautiful, actually. It's the whole elaborate thing that God created for
Yeah.
us to know and not to be reactive. So this is one reason why it is good to not know, because I remember when I looked in my son's eyes one time, it was almost like I was trying to pierce his soul. I did not like what I saw. I did not like the feeling I felt. But and this stuff explained it to me, what was going on and what I felt.
Yeah. And imagine, sister, this is a blessed opportunity to learn how to love unconditionally.
Yeah.
This is God telling us you can love. You have that ability. Regardless of what happened, regardless if someone hurt you in the past, regardless if you hurt someone in the past, you can still love each other. So the forgetful of the past is really this.
Right. And one more big thing I wanted to say was I had this huge uh, issue with slavery, and the treatment of Blacks. And it never dawned on me, well, what did that person do? As a Black person,
Mhm.
what the hell did you do to create this type of scenario? You know?
Mhm.
And then one day I'll have an answer, then tomorrow I'll forget and start all over again. Why do you treat me this way? Why you treat these people like this? This is not right. But anyway, what I've learned was you never know who these people were. or what role they actually played in history to warrant. And sometimes people would treat it like the slave masters have treated the slaves so badly, they came back as a slave. So
Okay.
you'd be surprised about the whole scenario is huge. It doesn't matter where you were on the planet. If you treated a group of people badly, here you are
Yeah.
to learn how to be compassionate, how to love all over again, how not to treat people bad, what it looks like to treat people badly. It's
Yeah.
an interesting concept. The whole God is just amazing to me.
Yeah. Gina, what you said is so amazing, and I think that the book that I think that has great stories for us to learn and to reflect on those are not only the messengers, but in the way to the light. I think that that's the title in English from André Luiz.
Yeah,
That he explains those ties and how people reincarnate and how one lifetime changes to other lifetimes. So we start understanding it's all connected.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting anyway.
Yeah, we
You
are
got,
all going through
yeah.
those moments that we reflect why this, why that.
Mm. And the different planets, you mentioned those too. Like I remember when Tanya was saying that at one time she actually wanted to go to Saturn, but they told her she had to get that vibration up in order to go there. So to me, and when you gave the analogy about the air, it's like going to a high mountain, and the higher you get, the less you can breathe. It's like that's how the altitudes and the different uh, planets are. The vibration is so light. I mean, high, the denseness of this will not work. You have to be more ethereal.
Exactly, sister. And Allan Kardec even explains in the, and I can bring that in more details next class, but he explains that Mars is even more dense than planet Earth. Venus is more advanced than planet Earth. Saturn is one of the most advanced, it says, and or Jupiter. No, Jupiter is less advanced than Saturn, but not as advanced as, and exactly, I mean, and the sun is a center of energy, so it's not that there are like bodies living in there, but it's a place where the high spirits get
Come through.
together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so interesting, and you're spot on, like depending on, like if you're going to a very very high mountain, our body's not prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can only go so far without.
exactly.
So, what is the name of this book you talk about?
Which one?
The book Venus and Saturn and
Oh, this is the Spirit's book, chapter
what chapter?
5.
Oh, really?
No, I'm lying. It's chapter. I use so many chapters that so it's chapter 3, I think. I can send it to you, sister.
Oh,
Oh, here. Chapter 4, book 2, comment number 13.
oh,
On question 188. Do pure spirits inhabit special worlds, or are they in universal space without being attached to any specific planets? Take a look on that. Very interesting.
chapter 4.
Chapter 4, yes. Book 2.
Okay.
All right, friends. We are already 8 minutes after the hour, uh, after the, yeah, overtime. Let us do a closing prayer. So let us close our eyes, friends. And as we are connected to our mentors and to Jesus, our master, our brother, the mentor of this planet, let us give thanks for the blessed opportunity that we have because we are here by our own decision. So, dear Lord, help us to make good decisions. We are so grateful for being able to have free will. Help us to choose according to what is best for our evolution. And help us to see the good in every situation that we are put through because we trust you. We know that we are surrounded by the divine harmony and everything happens according to your plans. We love you so much and we are so grateful for everything that we have because those are means for our evolution. Please bless our night. Please bless our family, our brothers and sisters, especially those who are suffering. Give them comfort, give them love, give them peace, and help us to enable that peace to start within our heart. We thank you, all the teaching spirits, the teacher spirits, and we humbly ask for permission to close tonight's study group. And so be it. And so it is.
Thank you, Kiki.
Thank you, sister.
So you said it's the one that says incarnation of different worlds. Is that the one? Or planetary existence?
Incarnation on different worlds.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's it.
All right.
Yes, of course. All right, everyone. So it was great seeing you tonight. And I guess I see you next week again.
Okay.
Love and peace. Bye, Mom. Bye, everyone.
Hi.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Shayla. Bye, Jill. Bye, Michael. Bye, Taylor.
Bye.
Bye.
Gina, Mom. Bye, Dad. Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, dear Jill.
Good night, everybody.